The summer of soccer rolls on. That's Jason Longshore. I'm Joe Fryhofer. This is your AT&T countdown to kickoff. We're through with the debut of Rob Valentino at Mercedes-Benz Stadium as our interim managers this season continues on. 2-2 was the finish against the Houston Dynamo. Jason, let's go bit by bit here. First, starting off with Luke Brennan. Take a bow, young fella, for what he did out there on the pitch. Fired up the 17s, left it all out there with his fearless directional play, taking players on one-on-one. We'd like to call him the Cobb County Neymar after what he did on Saturday night. What a start for the young fella.
We might have to work on that nickname a little bit. I'll come up with a few suggestions. But Luke, it's been fun to watch his rise coming up from the academy, debuting with Atlanta United too as an academy player, and he's always had that fearless streak in him. He loves to go 1v1. If it's 1v2, he doesn't care. If he loses 4 straight duels, he doesn't care. He's going to go for the 5th. He's relentless and he's fearless. And I just love that combination. And I think people were surprised to see how he was in this match. The next step for Luke is going to be goals. It's going to be assists. That's the next step for him. But this year, he's taken a big jump forward. He's been good in Open Cup games. And he looked like he had been playing in MLS for 3-4 years with his performance on Saturday.
Let's touch on what you saw tactically as well. Rob Valentino talked a lot about manufacturing transition moments. We saw that a good bit when Edwin Mosquera was out there on the field. He ended up having to come off, and in came Luke Brennan that started his afternoon. Xande Silva as well with the Wonder Curler. There were celebrations out all afternoon long as well. We saw Daniel Rios hit his signature. Xande Silva got a little samba in there too, and it was that attacking flavor that came back that gave the Five Stripes a big confidence boost.
Yeah, and it wasn't big flowing moments of possession to get those goals. I mean, let's go to the Rios goal, and I think that's the kind of goals you're going to have to find right now, where it's a goal and it's a situation. It's a long ball from Brad Kazan, and Rios sticks with the play multiple times in the moment. Xande Silva, same thing. It's kind of a 1v2, and he goes for it, and it's not clean. It takes a heavy deflection, I think, off of his shin, and he doesn't have a great angle. Have it. See what happens. Make something happen. And he does. And I thought the team did well in those moments. I thought the counter pressure was really good in moments where they turned Houston over in some dangerous spots. It was a little inconsistent at times. I think defensively was a little inconsistent across the board at times. It's a game that felt like a draw.
Circumstances for Valentino were going to be tough. We knew that coming into this one, not only with player availability. Now we go on a road trip with no return to Atlanta. We'll begin. This is going to be a 7:30 kickoff against DC United, a side that is winless currently right now in their last 6. But you and I were talking about it. This is a matchup in the back line for Noah Cobb once again, and Derek Williams is his center back pairing to take on Christian Benteke. We know about the aerial threat that he poses, that hold-up play as well. This will be a chance for them to look at the drawing board once more, change up the tactics perhaps, and go again against the big Belgian. Let's touch on fitness as well here. It's going to be a huge factor into these next couple, especially for DC United. Both Christian Benteke played a full 90 as well as Mateus Klick in the midfield for them. How do you see rotation playing out for Rob Valentino's guys as well? We saw Luke Brennan come on with his fresh legs and put on a show as well. The midfield that saw Dax McCarty getting more and more playing minutes as the season goes on as well. What could that 11 look like for Valentino?
Yeah, good question, because I'm not really sure. You're hoping to get Tyler Wolff back into the mix in this week. You're hoping to get Stian Gregerson back into the mix to some degree over these next couple of games, but how much? Edwin Mosquera, we don't know if he's going to be available for these 2 games either. It's interesting because you're a little thin in a couple of spots, which then, if you are the managers that you're going to be facing, they've got some serious questions because you don't have a lot of depth on the wing. Okay, do you go to that 5-3-2 that we saw down in Fort Lauderdale? Kind of avoid the wings and play your fullbacks as wing backs and let them get forward. That's possible. Everything's kind of on the table right now. And that can be something that this coaching staff and this team can use to their advantage, where opponents don't really know what to expect.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention as well one of the biggest changes in looks for the Five Stripes. Yorgos Giacomakis has departed the club. He's made his way to Liga MX. He'll be playing for Cruz Azul over there as well. So he's officially no longer with the Five Stripes. Look, had a remarkable season for us last year as well. Was certainly a supporter favorite and remarkable performances that now will need to look elsewhere in the roster, such as Luke Brennan and his creation to fill that goals gap that Yorgos has left.
Yeah, it's not an ideal situation timing-wise. You never want to lose a player in mid-season. The MLS calendar is kind of different, and at times kind of a challenge when these kinds of offers come to the fore. And this is the complicated nature of the transfer market. It's the complicated nature of roster building in MLS, where you have a player, you have two clubs that are involved. It's a three-way sort of transaction, and this one made sense ultimately for all three parties. And now for Atlanta United, you get this deal done a little bit less than a month before the transfer window opens. You have time to be ready to roll when that window opens, if that's the move you want to make.
From the nation's capital, then we go to City Park to take on St. Louis City SC. This was the new kid on the block last season in Major League Soccer. Teams have sort of figured this side out a little bit more coming into this season now. João Klaus, the big Brazilian, is always somebody you need to keep on your radar up top at striker for them, as well as Roman Bürki, ex-Bundesliga, the man between the three pipes, who's had a remarkable start. He's now reached 50 MLS appearances this season. Both of those guys, we've got to keep a sharp eye on.
Edward Leuven really strong in that midfield as well. Indiana Vasilev from South Georgia. A little bit of local flavor there for you. Look, this is a St. Louis team that you know what to expect. They're going to be a dynamic pressing team. They're not really concerned with possession. They're always going to challenge you when you build out of the back. They're going to look for those mistakes. They're going to look for those turnovers. You know what you're walking into there. It's going to be a difficult place to play, but you get two games against teams that are direct. Now, they do different things with it, but two direct kind of teams, you're going to have a decent bit of the ball. How you use it over these two games and kind of how you manage the flow of these two games going to be really interesting on the road as you look to pick up some points.
Some fun numbers to look at before we get to kickoff times as well. DC United, their last victory in Major League Soccer against the Five Stripes. Now we get it done over in their place, a stadium where the Five Stripes have had a lot of luck in past seasons as well.
They have.
It'll shape up for a great build down in that one. And then we go over St. Louis. Keep an eye on this now, 17s. Kickoff is going to be 8:30 Eastern time over there for them. So all of that going down on the MLS Season Pass through Apple TV. Jason Longshore and Mike Conti have you on both calls as we get set for one of the biggest road trips of the season.
6:30 Five Stripes Countdown on Wednesday in DC. 7:30 on Saturday from St. Louis. You can listen on 92.9 The Game, on radio, 92.9 FM, on your phone or on the computer on Odyssey.
That's Jason Longshore. I'm Joe Fryhofer. This has been your AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. 17s to the nation's capital we go.